how about the bird flu raging that we're not allowed to hear
How
about
about
anymore?
tuberculosis is raging?
Tuberculosis in Kansas, biggest outbreak in recorded history, but also think about food implications for the bird flu, right?
Right.
We're having to slaughter all these birds, all this poultry and eggs to keep the bird flu from spreading. But guess what? They won't even let us hear about that. The communication from CDC, not allowed to do it anymore, right?
They did in a press briefing just 2 days ago. They were like, "Glad you brought that up." Well, if the Biden administration didn't order the murder of all of these birds, these chickens, then we wouldn't be having egg prices wouldn't be so high. Like, just skip over the bird flu part, that
Mhm.
they're killing very sick birds that could also make people very sick. Skip that part. Just
Mm.
talk about the fact that they're being killed, which is creating the shortage in the number of birds that are available to produce meat and eggs, and that's the reason why, but no implication of, like, the health safety part.
'Cause we don't care about your health and safety,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean, say the quiet part out loud. We don't care about your health and safety.
I feel like they've said that quite a If you haven't heard that
Corey's
yet,
like,
then
"Have you not been
you're
listening?"
you're not listening. If you have not heard that part yet, then you're not listening. And, like, the whole country is in turmoil. Like, everybody has been impacted in some way, right? By all of these executive orders that have come down. Literally everybody. There's
Mhm.
no person who is exempt. And whether you've been impacted positively or negatively, you have been impacted by these executive orders. And the thing that they're actively trying to do is instill a sense of fear, urgency, and despair. And that is what we have to fight against. So, welcome to Pushing Past Polite, where we talk about what matters and make the world more just. I'm Corey,
I'm Laura, and
Okie.
and we are
and it's
fighting
time to be
exhaustion over
pushing.
here.
It's time to be pushing.
We are actively yeah, it is time to talk. It's time to talk for sure. What a fucking week. What 10 days? What this is bizarre. But we knew it was coming. I mean, we knew this, right?
But it's like it's having real life catastrophic impacts on people. There are 60 people dead because of a plane crash that was 100% preventable, right? There are people's families who are completely disrupted because of fear of being picked up by immigration,
Mhm.
right? There are people who were already struggling to pay their rent and buy food and now don't have any extra assistance from the government so that they can purchase food for themselves and their children.
There's a hospital system where I live sending out emails saying they're putting pauses on all gender affirming surgery care, etc., because they need to make sure we can understand better how to comply. That's real
Because
lies.
it's rapid, it's real lives. And it's like our culture is a culture of ass covering.
Mm.
Right? It's like we're always in it we wanna do what's going to keep us protected legally.
Sure, compliance matters. I get that. Nobody wants to expose themselves
But
unnecessarily, but this is the time for leadership.
even
Uh-huh.
in the face of the kinds of executive orders, because 'cause I'm not even gonna call them, like, policies, but it is like policies are coming out of there. It's like, this is not the time. This is not the time. This is how things are taken over because so people are so willing to just comply. They see people standing in line, so they just get in line. No idea what the fucking line is for, but standing in line. Somebody's standing at the door patting you down. You have no idea. They don't work there. They're robbing you. But
Mm.
you're so used to being compliant that you allow them to rob you so that you can enter into the space.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk in circles that I'm in about how schools should respond to ICE raids, right? Like without a warrant, there's no reason why this stranger should be entering your school,
Mhm.
right? But you see an armed man with a badge, and like I can appreciate the confusion that that causes. And to
But then
your
it's like
point, know
when
your
the
job, know
shooters
what you can do.
are out here shooting up our children, where is that same energy?
Mhm.
Oh, so we can come in and raid a school with all kinds of enthusiasm to snatch kids out of their classrooms, but we can't enter the building to protect them and save their lives?
Mhm.
Where's that same energy?
Could be using resources a little differently. Not that I want armed guards at my kid's school every day,
No,
but
but I'm just saying the enthusiasm in which people are willing to allow law enforcement to enter a school to snatch children out. I would like that same enthusiasm from law enforcement to enter schools to save children's lives.
mhm. Mhm.
Anyway, there's a lot going on.
Yeah. We've got our first concentration camp now in Guantanamo Bay for 300,000 detainees. We've got new conflicts with
Wait,
Colombia.
let's just
What do you wanna
pause.
talk about?
I was just gonna say that's not our first concentration camp. We have concentration camps all over
That's
our
right.
country that are called prisons,
Prisons.
right? Okay, so we have many, many for-profit prisons that are concentration camps in our country. Now we have again the quiet part out loud. Are people not listening? It's like now we are saying out loud, "Hey, we're going to take these people and camp them." Do you remember World War II? We did this to our own citizens. We were snatching up Japanese folks, people from Japanese descent who were American citizens, and we put them in camps.
And now the challenge of birthright citizenship, right? Like, these things are all connected too.
And who did birthright citizenship? Why was birthright citizenship established? Who was that established for?
Hands up.
The blacks. People, the descendants of enslaved people, they could be citizens because they were born here. So if birthright citizenship goes
Goes
away,
away.
that impacts everybody. Everyone.
Mhm.
Because nobody fucking owns this place. Everybody came from somewhere else.
Mhm.
Aside from native people, everybody came from somewhere else.
Mhm. But they're challenging even the citizenship of Native folks, which is just wild. It's just
But
wild.
how are you not challenging your own citizenship when you and your descendants didn't come from here?
Mm.
The reason that you believe this is your land is because you were born here and you were born into a system that told you that this was your land. So it's like, then yes, let's all go home. And I will come with you because we're probably cousins. And I don't think that's what you had in mind when you told me to go back to where I came from.
Mhm.
Sorry for my rant.
No. Bring it on. Bring it on. Okay. So we're watching all of this happen in real time and trying our best to keep our peace and our sanity amidst us. But like, what I mean, Keith, I know this has impacted your week. Do you feel comfortable sharing that?
Yeah, I won't go into specifics, but
Right.
like both of you in differing capacities, I work in communications, and lost in sort of all this shuffle. There have been communications freezes, for lack of a better term, across tons of different federal agencies and operations. So
Let's call
everything
them
from
gag orders, shall we?
sure
That's basically what it is. Okay.
health, science, education, from the top down. Basically, if you're receiving federal funding in any way, you've been instructed with vague information, like no details at all. Just
Mhm.
sort of these: refrain from posting to websites, refrain from tweeting, refrain from communicating with the outside world in any way. Which
And the
there's
government employees are getting the same thing. Like they can't communicate with clients. They can't communicate, like they can't have that
Mm.
return conversation either. Sorry, continue. I just wanted to
yeah, no.
add that.
I
Yeah.
and it this is a huge, massive disruption, not just in terms of, like you said, getting vital information like, I don't know, bird flu
Mhm.
cases or new sweeping epidemics, God forbid. Like, it's not just preventing vital information from getting to the public, but it's preventing people from doing their jobs. And in a lot of
Right.
situations, that means that people can't bill for their work and
Mhm.
they're literally losing out on income.
Yeah.
And the point of this is anybody's guess, right? There's no clear direction. The stated goal is that they want to like get their messaging in line. And for a lot of these things, they want to like give agencies time to look at all of the projects that are being funded and see if there's any DEI aspects in them and make sure that they're in line with the president's executive orders. But at the end of the day, it's this massive, huge disruption with real impacts on people's lives. And it's what, because they're afraid that somebody might use the word equity on a website somewhere. Like, that's it. Like, that's what it really comes down to. We want to make sure that you didn't use the word inclusion in a tweet. Like, what? We
Mhm.
have real problems in this country that we're dealing with. And this is like the priority number one for this administration, for all our federal agencies that are responsible for like cancer research, that are
Mhm.
responsible for keeping planes in the air, which, we haven't talked about yet, but we're disrupting so many vital services and, again, impacting people's livelihoods
And their
because
safety,
they're
their imminent safety.
Mhm.
mhm, because they're afraid of some words.
Mhm.
And I don't even know if it's they're afraid of them. This is, in my opinion, it's just theater. He's not doing anything to help people, right? He's not like lowering anybody's taxes.
Mm-mm.
Groceries are more expensive than they used to be. He's not doing any of the
And they're
things he
gonna get
said.
more expensive
Yeah,
with the theatrics of,
No
um,
migrant workers, no
migrant
farm
workers.
workers,
Right.
bird flu.
right. So I think he's aware that a lot of the people who voted for him are going to be like, what are you actually doing for me? So this is what he gives them. He signs these executive orders and some pieces of paper, and he's going to war with the woke people. It's just theater so that he can say, hey, we're doing it. We're going after those bad lefties that we were complaining about for so long. That's it. That's really, that's the
Well,
only reason that they're doing this. And
and
it's,
then they can also create the problem, right? The lefties are the problem, the woke masses, all of this own the libs. And then look, I fixed it, right? Like he creates a problem that doesn't exist and then solves it and is somehow this great savior. When in
right.
reality, real issues are either being ignored or exacerbated.
Yeah. So yeah, people who work in communications have not had a good couple weeks. Just add to the list of the people whose lives are
Mhm. Brought
have
to a
been.
standstill. Mm.
I saw a clip of Senator Chris Murphy
Cool.
talking about, um, what he believes is why Trump is doing this, because he needs to stockpile money to pay off all his homies. And so if because they don't have the money for the tax breaks and all of that. So if we freeze all government spending,
Mhm.
we strongly encourage, I'm going to use that language, lifers to leave, right? Federal employees who have been federal employees over many
20 years.
years, administrations, all of that. But we encourage those people to leave by buying them out. We get rid of the younger top talent through fear and intimidation, which is we basically gut our government, right? And now
Mhm.
we hire contractors to do that work. And those contractors are
His
staffed
homies.
by the homies.
Mm. Well, it makes perfect sense. I mean, think about public education. I hear people even that have been in the field for a really long time that are like, why are there all this talk about, making it more challenging to become a teacher and lowering quality, all these things. And it's like everything is to privatize. That is the goal here,
Right.
right? Let's give an impossible task to these teachers who are doing the best they can and bleeding, sweating, and crying every day. Let's continue to undercut them at every turn, raise the bar, change the metric, make the formula different. Suddenly, up, you got a letter F on your head for the school. And we have reason now to pull your funding and have a contract with a private
And the other thing
organization
is to
and vouchers.
deny access. Because the big one of the biggest things that the Department of Education funds is grants and scholarships and loans, which is how people who can't afford college can pay for fucking college. So if we gut the Department of Education, you are removing huge amounts of access. to Black folks, brown folks, first generation college students, people at different socioeconomic statuses. It's like college costs $500,000 a year for, I mean, $500,000, like,
It's like, what?
a
Oh God, I got 3 kids.
right?
I'm
No.
screwed.
Like, we're expecting to have to pay $500,000 for our 2 kids to go to college. It's like a
That's the
quarter
estimate.
of $1 million per kid to go to college, looking at tuitions right now even. So who knows what it's gonna be by the time my kids are in college. That's a lot of freaking money.
Mhm.
So we're seeing the price of everything go up: housing, food, all of our basic things that we need. We're not seeing increases in salaries and wages. If we gut the Department of Education, we eliminate research around education. So all the research, one, institutions that exist are get a lot of their money from the Department of Education to do their research.
Mhm.
And then a large percentage of their population is getting money from the Department of Education to attend the
To
school.
attend. Yep.
So that's what you're doing. You're eliminating access. And so what you are being able to provide is the legacy space, more and more space for legacy folks to participate in the college experience.
For the self-funded wealthy. It's like going back to what
Exactly.
education was pre-public ed, pre-compulsory ed, right?
Exactly.
Those who can afford can go and have spaces, and those who can't or can afford the private institutions, the upper echelon, if you will, and everybody else is screwed.
Yes.
The masses are screwed.
Yes. Yes. I think it has way less to do with the K-12 system as it has to do with that. Because you're choking out the development of new information with the research money,
Mm.
and you're choking out access to education with for
For
future
future folks.
generations.
And I think too, like how these moments have whatever happens at a point in time has an effect for a cohort moving forward,
Mhm.
right? Like I think about the pandemic and the impact that that had on kids in schools, depending on what age they were, right? Teenagers really struggled, missed their milestones.
Mhm.
Middle schoolers really struggled to connect socially. Little ones really struggled with important reading literacy skills. We're
Mhm.
seeing all of that play
And
out now.
socialization development, right?
5 years late,
Mhm.
yeah, so many other pieces, just to oversimplify, right? But we're seeing that those effects in a cohort over time,
Mhm.
right? And now I'm just thinking about like, okay, if you cut access, if you cut, affordability, if you cut quote unquote DEI initiatives, so we can just take the white kids we want to take. And I'm not saying that that's what institutions are actually thinking. I'm just saying that's the intention of the policies, right? What does that do for a generation of kids that only have one shot at age 18 or
Mhm.
age 19? What does that do when your Pell Grant suddenly isn't there for you? And now you have debt from those first 2, 3 years you've just incurred, and you have no degree to show for it because you can't sustain staying there. That impact of this moment heck, the plane crash, right? This decision, hiring freeze for all the air traffic controllers, removing the FAA lead. This happens. Those families from this point forward are never the same.
Right.
Ever the same.
Right. Right. And then you just make up an excuse. Whatever. You make up an excuse. It's DEI. It's like you just make no.
It's DEI hires, and then they say, "Oh, it was an all white flying staff." And then what did they come back
No,
with? Keith,
well,
what did
no,
you say?
it's disability inclusion. So I'm not kidding. Like this just happened. We're recording on Friday, and I'm in shock at the moment to hear the president of the United States insinuate that that plane crash happened because maybe we've been hiring people with epilepsy or we're hiring amputees. Yeah,
Amputees.
But it couldn't possibly have to do with his own actions. Couldn't possibly. It could not possibly be directly tied to his actions. It has to be part of some weird made up possibility, because that's all the other thing he says. I don't know. It's possible. It's possible. It's like he's constantly like, it's possible. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe if you gargle bleach, you'll kill
Yeah.
COVID. I don't know. Maybe
no,
it's
but this is
possible.
how
Yeah, what a fucking
stupid this
idiot.
works. He literally had just enacted a hiring freeze for air traffic controllers.
Yeah.
And we
days
just
earlier
found
Yes.
out that that air traffic control system was understaffed, was at
at
like
Reagan. Yes.
85% of what it should have been. And it's very clear, at least from the outside, that this seems to be an air traffic control related incident.
Yeah.
It's the clearest possible connection that you could make. And he
Yeah.
comes out and he talks about little people and amputees, and that becomes the story. And
Yeah.
Literally using the word dwarf.
The
Like,
blacks,
what?
and
the
and
browns,
that
the
becomes
whoever is a marginalized identity, it
The
had to have been
others.
somebody else because it could not be me and my choices.
that's what gives me my sense of hopelessness in this. And I know Corey hates hopelessness and she wants us to fight against it. You can yell at me if you want.
I mean, look how fucking perky and beautiful she
Yeah.
looks today.
Mhm.
How?
But my
Just kidding.
sense is just when you
I've
have,
been living this 42 years.
I know.
So
I
Mhm.
just, for me, when you have half of the country of this many millions of people who are willing to just look past that obvious connection, disregard the truth and move on, like that's where my sense of apathy or nihilism or whatever comes from. Because
Mhm.
is there an honest, like realistic path toward getting people to see the light or change their minds? No.
Ye Well, yeah, it is. The path is really like them being directly impacted by something, and who knows how long that might take, right? But it's,
Not long. We're 10 days in. It's
yeah,
gonna
it's
happen.
gonna happen, and so I think that just like people vote on single issues, it's like people's minds begin shifting based on single issues or single experiences. Right? And so it's like someone needs to have that experience. You meet people who at one point in their life were so homophobic, and then their grandchild comes out to them and it was that's the person who has been the apple of their eye forever, and
Mm.
they have to shift their heart because that person occupies so much space in their heart. Right. And that's what it takes for that shift to begin. Or your daughter gets assaulted and is pregnant and is gonna try to take it through, but something may happen to her, and the only choice that will save her life is to have an abortion, and that was never anything that you believed in until it was choosing her or
Mm. Or your ideology.
your
Mm.
ideology. Right? It's
Mhm.
often those kinds of things that begin to shift people, their minds and their hearts. It has to touch their heart. Something has to touch their heart. And we have been systematically desensitized to empathy and compassion that it's harder for some people's hearts. Like, I go back to this all the time. Dr. Joy DeGruy said something that many years ago, but she talked about how during Jim Crow and before, lynching was a very common thing, right? And it was so common that people showed up with picnics,
Packed
packed
lunches to
lunches
watch.
to go observe that inhumanity take place. Children were present and joyfully participating in some of the dehumanizing and malicious and just horrible activity. Those children are now adults making decisions in our country. All of that lives in their bodies, right? And
Mm.
if you don't deal with that, it just keeps showing back up. If you don't allow space as a culture to engage in healing conversations and take accountability for what happened in the past that you may not have directly been involved in, but you benefit greatly from, then you find yourself in a place where you don't have compassion or empathy. Because if you can watch somebody hang until they're dead, then
Mm.
the idea of people walking, in wristbands or handcuffs and being escorted onto the back of a cargo plane is
Does
not going
not
to
phase
move
you.
you, right? And so it has to be something that really connects to your heart, and that's where people start to shift. And I just have to personally believe that there is something like that for everyone, and that this current president is going to unveil it for most people, because he is moving with such lack of regard for all
For
people
anyone.
that he is going to help facilitate that shift. And I think that that's the part that's going to surprise him, that there's going to be a larger shift than he's expecting from his sheep, and the wolves will be under attack because he's doing so much so quickly that it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt you. You're going to feel it. And it's like it won't be blamable. But the other reason he's doing so much at this point is because it's so close to the transition that it's easy to point the finger back to their previous administration,
Mhm.
right? And so if you do all of this rapid movement within the first 30 days and you end up pausing any of it,
Blame the
you,
shitstorm on the cloud
there
before,
you
right?
go.
Mhm.
There you go.
What worries me is I think that the flurry of activity is calculated, and we're starting to see
It is
other.
project. It's all written.
Yeah, but I mean,
It's written
it's
down.
not just federal activity. We're starting to see other areas, other policymakers try to capitalize on this flurry of activity. I don't know if you saw the Tennessee State Senate just passed
Yeah.
legislation that essentially makes it a felony to vote against.
Not essentially. That's
Yeah,
what the language
if
is.
you vote against Donald Trump, it's a felony. You get kicked out of your job and possibly thrown in prison.
19 state attorney generals are suing Costco for maintaining their DEI initiatives.
Mhm.
19 states.
Can we just say Costco? Damn.
Were we ahead of our time knowing that we loved our
Yeah.
Costcos? Episode 3, we talked Costco, friends. We're at episode 33.
Yeah.
And
Just
they
saying.
just
I'm not
proposed
saying it.
raising
Yeah.
their pay to like $30 an hour too.
Guess where I'm going this
Hmm.
weekend?
Yeah.
You can feel good about
Costco.
shopping
Mm-hmm.
at Costco at least. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Yeah. So let's talk about what you just said. Keith and I are like, right? I think Keith is more than I am. I'm a little less, huh? If we had a continuum of like Keith on one end of like, holy shit, this is banana pants. And I also believe it's banana pants, but I'm like, nah,
And I
we knew it
believe
was
it's
coming,
banana
banana
pants.
pants. And Corey's like, oh, absolute banana pants. And I've been living it for 42 years, right? In different forms. I think this is much more shocking and unmooring for white folks who, like, again, educate, like, well-meaning, in touch with their humanity white folks, right? People who are not, to your point, they're not moved by this at all. But for those of us who are wanting to be better humans and watching this shit and suddenly seeing it potentially turn on us for maybe one of the first times in our lives, right? This is much more shocking for us than it is probably, I'm assuming, for a person of color, for someone who's been marginalized, maybe has multiple identities that marginalize them in our community, in our society, who are like, yeah, this is my whole lived experience.
Yeah, I would agree.
Corey's
I I'm going to say this too. What is the title of our podcast?
pushing past polite, my friend.
Okay. One of the challenges that I have observed in the white community, which y'all don't call it that, but that's what it is that politeness.
And declare,
Politeness.
mhm,
Instead of having the hard conversations that you need to have in your family time, you're polite.
mhm,
I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk politics at the dinner table. I don't want to talk salaries at the dinner table. I don't want to talk about whatever. And
mhm,
that politeness is why we are here,
mm,
because the conversations that really needed to be had years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, 2 years ago, whenever, were were socialized to be taboo to talk about.
mhm,
Who does that serve?
mhm. People in power.
And so
Mhm,
it is excruciatingly uncomfortable to talk about some of these things in y'all's community because you have been acculturated into that being non-dinner discussion.
Mhm. Yeah, this isn't the time. This isn't the
Yeah,
place.
this isn't the yeah. Do you have to talk about this, Laura, every time we get together? Yes, bitch, I
Actually,
do.
yes. Which is why we don't have a relationship anymore.
But
I could give you a list of people for whom that's true.
but that and it's like
Mhm.
we are talking about this stuff with each other. Right? I'm having this conversation with my mom and with my sister, and we're talking about and with my friends who come over here, and with the nanny who's from El Salvador, and with the we're having these conversations because
You have
we
to.
have to.
You've
And I'm
had to
having
your whole
them with
lives.
my husband who is identifies as a white male. I'm having that conversation with him so that he understands why I want to get a license to carry permit
Mm.
because I'm a black lady walking around. And as lovely and warm and kind and gracious as I am to people, I'm still a black person walking around in this America. And so the likelihood that I don't come home is significantly higher than the likelihood that one of you two wouldn't come home from a traffic stop, from giving birth, from going
Mm.
to the grocery store, from anything, from ICE showing up at the school.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's just a different experience. But it's like we have to talk about it, and you all don't, and now you
We
do.
haven't had to. That's right. That's right. And it is real. So, okay, so think of this episode as like normalizing therapy for white people who are just coming into this space, right? Again, to greater and lesser degrees, me and Keith too, right? Like this is not something that's foreign to us. We have been invested in these kind of conversations for a while, and shit got real in a whole new way, right? And so if you are a person, particularly a less marginalized person, again, you might be a white woman, so you've got proximity, it's a whole thing. But anyway, if you have enjoyed more proximity to power than others, and this is new, this feeling is new to you, welcome. You are welcome here. It is okay that you are a few minutes late to the party. Like you are welcome. This is a place, come on, pull up a chair. We do talk about this stuff here. And talking about this stuff is where the power lies.
Which is why I'm not I don't I'm not I that's why I'm hopeful. Like,
Mm.
I don't know. That's part of why I'm hopeful. It's like we have these conversations and us talking about it here leads to, other people talking about it in their spaces. Like, we're doing it and helping other people to normalize this kind of dialogue. And I'm gonna also just need you to catch up. We don't have
Mhm.
time to catch you up, okay? Like, this just been going on for hundreds of years, okay? Like, I just
Our best effort at catching you up is a back catalog of
right,
32 other podcasts.
exactly. Like,
Okay.
just do that. And but I can't we can't catch you up, but we don't have to be caught up to recognize what you're experiencing and feeling, right?
That's right.
This is not too complicated to talk about. We see what's
Mhm.
happening and you feel what's
Yeah.
happening.
You don't need practice. You don't need to have a higher education degree in this. You don't need to read 10 more books. Please
Yes,
read 10 more books.
please.
Go for it
Yeah.
if you want. But just
You have
know
a
that
stake
there
in
is
this.
no, yeah, there's no entry fee to this
Yeah.
conversation. Come on.
Yeah.
There's no entry fee for you being able to call your legislators. There's no experience resume you have to be able to write a letter to the editor in your paper. There's none of that. Just do it. Jump in.
Yeah.
Jump in.
Jump in. And if you feel compelled to do it, then it's like, and you don't know what to say, Google it.
So chat GPT.
Seriously, no, because people are producing these things. Like people are producing standard text that you can send to your legislature and to,
Scripts. Yep.
like the
Calling
calling
scripts. Yep.
scripts. Those exist. People have that. So you don't have to try to feel stuck and overwhelmed in what should I say? How like no, Google it. Someone has
And you
already done it. Done the work.
and you don't need to have like a Patrick Henry give me liberty or to give me death
Right,
quality
right,
speech here
right.
either. Like just say, I'm a voter, I'm a constituent. I feel really strongly about this. I voted for you, or maybe I didn't, but you represent me.
Right.
And here is my concern.
Yes.
I want to hear, and I always say, I want to hear back from your office.
Yes.
I called my governor's office. I called my my Republican senator or congressperson's office this week and said and left messages and said at the end, "I expect to hear from you."
Yeah.
Make them do the work.
Yes.
Call me back. Tell me to my face why you're not going to do
Yeah.
this. I want you to know you're registering what I'm saying.
Yes.
And I will call you again. You will hear from me again, and I will ask you to call me back.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm probably a little less hopeful than you, Corey, if I'm honest. Like, again, this like we're on a continuum
Yeah.
here because I'm still skeptical because I'm I'm in this community. I'm skeptical of people getting it and seeing it. I am hopeful that, to your point, once it touches your lives, once it touches your grandbaby, your spouse, your health, your fill in the blank, that it does become an illuminating thing for you. And I know that the machines that are cranking out misinformation are really intense. And that's where I can see Keith's concern too, right? Like, what does it take to make you get that this was not a Biden thing or an Obama thing or a Dem thing or a lib thing or a woke thing? This is a humanity thing. So I'm straddling somewhere in between the
Here's
two.
the other part is like a lot of people won't. It's like Jim Crow was a thing here.
Mhm.
Enslavement was a thing here. And they both lasted entirely too long. And many people were quite comfortable with it. Right. So it's like, on one hand, I hear what you're saying. And on the other hand, it's like, it doesn't matter if they get it or not, because you need to get it. And if you get it, then that makes me more hopeful because you didn't get it 20
Mhm.
years ago. Right. So it's like that you can't get caught up in whether or not people are going to get it. You just have to continue to move. It's like if we Black people who have been literally persecuted in this country since we were dragged here in chains can still move with joy and hope and excellence, so can you, white people.
Thank you.
So can you.
That's the pep talk I needed
Like,
today. God damn it.
you can
Give me a
persevere.
smack on the tush.
Yeah, you
That's
can
it.
persevere. Like, we have had laws that stood firmly in place. Enslavement is still legal here in these United States of America, okay? Like, we have had laws in place that intentionally separated us, segregated us, didn't give full access, all of those things. Killing us was fine.
And yet I
And
rise. Look at you.
yes. So
Yes.
yes, you can too. Don't get dragged down in the despair because you have been so comfortable in your privilege. Keep fucking pushing
Mm.
and leverage your privilege to make impact.
That's the coach's talk I needed to hear today. Honest to God. Sports guy chest bump. I mean, like, I'm feeling that. Boom. Ready? Boom. That's it. It's that it's new to us. And so the shock and awe, I think, is particularly powerful. But the truth is that for all of human history, people have persisted. Humanity has persisted.
People with disabilities, people of color, people like
Trans
trans
folks
folks, like, you know,
keep moving.
we have to, and we need to stop moving separately. That's the other piece.
Mhm.
I think we talked about this, well, a couple of episodes ago, where it's like this singular mindset of like, this is the one thing, so this is the hill that I'm going to die on. I saw this clip that was talking about what is her name? Greta.
Yeah. The climate activist, the
Yes.
teenager.
Yes.
Yes. Thornburg.
Yes.
Thornburg, maybe. Cute Greta. Sweet Greta.
Yes, but
Sail around the world, Greta.
she was getting so much attention when her primary focus was just about climate
Climate.
change. But when she started talking about the relationship between climate change, capitalism, genocide, all of these things, this like broader picture, it's like, where did she go?
Mm,
She's not quiet, but she's being muted,
mm.
right? And so it's like, as people start drawing these connections, we need to draw the connections that my struggle and your struggle are tied up in each other,
Mhm.
right? That all of the liberties that you want were here because people were willing to allow other people to not experience liberties.
And that's how hate works,
Yes.
right?
It's okay
That
as long as it's happening to you.
other, and then no one's left for you,
Yeah.
or you go down too, and it's
And
terrifying.
so now we're in that fuck around and find out, right? It's like
We're find a face, find
we're
a
in the
face.
find out phase of that
Mhm.
where it's like the truth is, this administration doesn't care about anyone. And so that thing that you thought made you special
Or connected to
or
them or like them.
connected
We're
or
buddies. He loves me.
protected, right? The thing
Yep.
that you thought had you protected or covered or special or liked or whatever, you're finding out it's like he gave everybody the same talk, right? And everyone felt so warm and special. And this is the person who's talking about family values that has 6 kids and baby mamas and paid off money and has been divorced multiple times. But this is the person you're taking advice from about family values,
Mhm.
right? It's like you're in the find out phase because he doesn't care about you. The same
At
laws
all.
that brought all of his wives, families, except for that one, the right
Maples.
Marla
Marilla Maples.
Maples.
She sounds pretty white
But
bread. That's
I feel
Midwest.
like she may have been Canadian.
Mm, aw, dang it, the maple leafs. Look at
Mhm.
that. Still.
Yeah.
All right, go
Anyway,
ahead. You were making a
but the
point.
point is like the same laws that he used to get those partners their citizenship are the laws that he wants to get rid of
Mhm. For you,
for you,
for your people.
for you. Yeah. And he was able to expedite it because he has money, and the same people who have money will be able to continue to use it, right? Will can still have access because that's the way that it's always been. So that's the
That's
quiet
the way
part
our
out
system is
loud.
built.
That's the quiet part out loud. It's like, I'm going to get rid of abortions, but I'm rich. So if I need one, I'm going to get
It's
one.
no big deal. I can still get
Yeah.
one.
And if
Mhm.
that means I have to fly privately or do whatever, or have a private doctor come to my home, that's whatever. It's fine because I have the access to it because I have the means to access it. You,
Yeah.
poor white lady, or you, lawyer, attorney, black lady, you might die.
But
Mhm.
I think that's the point that we need to start making is that you're sitting there comfortably thinking that I'm wealthy. I'll have the means to be able to get an abortion if I need one. And this administration is so chaotic
Yeah.
and filled with nefarious influences from all sides that at some point, somebody who is extremely religious and wants to like make everybody a born again evangelical hardcore Christian is going to have his finger on the button of public policy and will somehow be able to push through a law that makes all abortion illegal across the country. And now you can go to prison for life. So whether you're wealthy or not, you can't get an abortion anymore. And it's too late because,
'Cause it's not about the abortion now, it's about the
yeah,
So
penalty.
Ben,
Yeah, how about South Carolina? It's now death penalty. Women can get the death penalty for having an abortion.
but the if she okay, but let's just back up. Let's just back up for a second. So first, I want to go
Beep,
back to
beep,
saying what
beep.
reiterate something you said, Laura, that it's not about the Republicans and the Dems or the libs or the conserves or
Wokes,
the
yeah.
wokes or the whoever's. Why was Roe v. Wade never codified? Why does he is he able to do some of these things? Because they were never codified. Why weren't they codified? There have been plenty of years and Democratic administrations and Republican administrations that could have done that. Why didn't they do that?
Lack of
Why can
political
he
will.
pull back the EEOC regulations? Why was that not something that we thought should be permanent in our legislation forever? So
Mm,
it's like he is doing the thing that was allowed to be left open for him to do because
mhm.
people assumed over generations, the oligarch again, that like they're all going to be safe anyway. So we don't have to make sure that everybody else is safe. So it's like it's
We don't need to rile up the other base, and we don't need to make this work against us politically. We can just kinda let it ride.
he is a mouthpiece figure. Like he is the face, the kookaloo, the white supremacist hero that is showing up to do the things that no one else had the will or courage to do. Because if you didn't want these things to be able to happen, you would have done something to make sure that they couldn't. Or if you weren't willing to allow them to happen, then you would have done what was necessary to ensure that it couldn't.
So I will say, building off of that, to make sure that we don't mistakenly make the Democratic Party our savior either, right? I think that's what you're getting at here. Is there a huge, massive difference? And, is it false equivalencies to say they're exactly the same? I don't think so at this point in history. And that is not to say that we shouldn't use the vehicle of the Democratic Party potentially to regain power and do the right thing. But to assume that that is the only thing we need to fix is just change the way we vote next time without the change in pressure for demanding the things that should have been done a long time ago. Right? That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
I think it's thinking about, given our two-party system, here is our best vehicle for making some serious changes. So I don't want to discourage involvement there, but I also don't want to give false hope that it's just that simple.
Yeah. And it's like, I want people to remember when the squad first got into their positions in Congress.
You want to just tell people who that is? AOC, Rashida Tlaib, um,
It was Corey.
Ilhan Omar, and one other woman.
Oh, wasn't it Corey Bush?
Maybe. I thought it was someone else. I thought it was a Muslim woman that I'm thinking of. But anyway, regardless, a group of 4 minority, liberal, progressive
And then I feel
women.
like the squad grew. Like, but you get what I'm saying. They
Yes.
were young-ish in compared to like the average age of the members of Congress, and progressive, but they were treated like they were
And women of
and
color,
women of
all of
color,
them.
all of them, and they were treated like they needed to know their place by their own party, right? They
Mhm.
were treated like, you haven't earned the right to advocate for your constituents. You need to
Mhm.
sit down and wait your turn.
Wait your turn.
That's how they were treated by their own party, right? They
Mhm.
weren't invited in for new energy
And
and
embraced. Yep.
embraced. So this is what I'm talking about. These people who treated them like that are the same people who have been in these offices and these positions for all this time and have plenty of opportunity to ensure the rights of all people.
Mhm. I'll tell you though, there's a lot of I think there's a lot of upcoming talent. AOC is one who I follow, and I just feel so hopeful every time she talks. Um, Corey's like, yeah, maybe. I hear her talking about the working class. I hear her talking about saying the things that people are not courageous enough to say. She's willing to get gritty. She's willing to put in the work. She doesn't take lobbyist dollars. Things like that that really give me hope. And I think we see that with the 2 Justins in Tennessee, right? Like I see these glimmers of hope of leaders who are willing to speak truth to power and not
But they're
cower to the
us. Like,
establishment.
where are those? I mean, I'm seeing in these Senate hearings, the white men, Dems, and not just, they're not backing down, which I appreciate. But again,
Mhm.
where has that energy been? You know what I'm saying? Like, where has that energy been? Because there are things that they can do that can prohibit and slow walk the confirmation of all of these people
Yes.
if they have
Yes.
the will and courage to do it.
Well, that's where, and I'm actually reflecting as you're saying this too, is I have not called my 2 senators because they're both Democrats and I know that they tend to be pretty outspoken, but like I need to encourage that. I need to demand that. I need to say, not only do I want you to give a nice speech that's going to be clipped on YouTube, I want I
That
want you
part.
to what's the word? What's the word? The talking until you filibuster. I want you to filibuster the shit out of these hearings. I want you, like, you know what I mean? Like, I want you to take it up a notch. There is no reason to play by rules and be sweet and polite and, take our turn. And yes, I yield back my time bullshit. We don't have time for that.
We don't have
We
time
are
for
in
decorum and demure. Okay? We don't have time for
no,
that. It is
no,
savage right
no.
now.
Yes, yes. We need, yeah, what is it? We need hot girl summer, not demure and mindful. No, we need go full blast, please. Full blast. Okay. That feels like a good time to take a breath.
Yeah, the energy
Everybody.
shifted in here, so that's good. You're like, full blast, let's go.
We ride at
Ride at
dawn.
dawn.
freedom. Paint my face with
Right,
Mel Gibson's not great
but
either, but you
still.
know. I also have been just checking on people and let's have conversations and let's have lunch and let's have coffee. I don't know if I can afford all this lunch and coffee that I'm planning. I need to
Samesies,
be watching
girl.
myself.
Samesies.
Damn. I mean, like multiple times this week, through 4 times this week, I've gotten together with people. And that's really, and Keith, to your point about like, how do you withstand all of this? I don't think I have all the answers, but like for me, it's going to be really being intentional about community. What do you need? How can I connect you? You know, fuck this noise, but like, how can we zoom in on what you need, what your baby needs, what, you know, what your business needs? How can I support you and help? That's a big part of how I'm going to get through this. And also too, like, I think of Black women having a great time together and that makes me smile. Like like when I think about joyful Black women, I'm like, yeah. I'm doing more of that. I want to be the fun auntie right now. Like that is my era. I'm going to paint my nails, have some wine, read a book, do my thing. Like, absolutely. I'm going to do my piece and then I'm going to take care of me. That's all I can do. Thanks for teaching me that, Black ladies. Just, why did I say that word? Black ladies. Blake ladies. Thank you. Corey's laughing, but she's muted, so she doesn't sound like she's laughing. So I'm all out here on an island
Sorry.
saying blank ladies, and you guys are worried that she's quiet and canceling me.
Right.
Uh,
Oh,
I,
man.
Capital
I
B,
think Corey
Black
has
ladies.
somebody else in the room, and so she's trying to block out some background
Well,
noise.
okay, Daniel, I need
Mhm.
her. This is my
And I
time.
was
I'm
also-
reclaiming my time, Daniel.
I was trying
She's
to
mine.
think about how we could create repurpose FAFO, like fuck around, find out, to fun auntie something else. That's what I was also thinking about.
Fun auntie. Oh shoot! I'll come back with one. I'll come with one. I was like funning around. I don't know. You got unmute. I'd rather hear Daniel than no laughter from you.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
dying.
Sorry.
I
I'm just
am
trying to
holding
minimize
on.
all the back noise, like he's moving
cool.
and stuff.
It's cool. Just pushing past polite with me. I'm just gonna lift it all by myself right now. It's fine. Lord help us. All right. Anything else we want to talk about before we wrap?
No,
Or
not
what are you doing for fun? What? What are you
no,
talking about?
no. I think that this is okay. I think that I want to leave people with the idea of like, yes, there's a shitstorm happening all around us. And that doesn't mean that you have to run out there with your mouth open and catch it all. Take a fucking umbrella, bitch. Okay.
Umbrella, wellies,
Yeah,
go.
like put your rain boots on and take an umbrella and like, but you have to keep moving. You can't just stay in the house, right? You
Mhm.
have to keep moving. You have to keep going, and and do not let despair be the thing that breaks you. Because if we can be persevering, I'm doing a hard blink,
Blink, blink,
right?
blink, blink.
Then so
You
can
mean the blink
the
ladies?
black ladies. Because we tired, okay? We are tired. We are tired, and still, it's like, as much shit as I talk about this country, I still love it here. And like, if I don't have to leave, I won't. But if I do, and I need to take my baby somewhere that they can grow up and thrive, then I will do that too. But it's like we're tired, and this is not the time for y'all to be tired. Okay, we need you to
Y'all been napping.
have a
Y'all have
Red
been taking
Bull,
your nap.
take an energy pill, energy drink, whatever you need to do, okay? and like we don't have the energy for y'all to be tired. So we need you all to step it up.
Mhm.
For
Yes.
real. Yeah, like
I would say keep your eye on the helpers too. What's that old Fred Rogers quote?
Yeah.
It was really nice to see when the funding, the grants loan ban came down. The people who were fighting it and the people you see on TV who are like legitimately hiring lawyers and going out there and trying to stop it are like Meals on Wheels, like
Right.
real honest to God good people who are just trying to fight and do the right thing. And over the course of the next 4 years, it's going to be those kinds of people who keep us from the worst of this. So if
And then become those kinds of people.
Mhm, exactly.
Mhm.
So
Like
We
become
can
those.
all
We
be
can
the
all
helpers
be
in
the
our
helpers,
spaces.
and the people who
Yes.
are the helpers need more help. So become those people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, quick beautiful shout out from this week from my social feed was Superintendent Jason Camrus from Richmond Public Schools, where I live, who said, "We children, we love you here. Families, we will protect you. Safety and your kids coming here and feeling like they are cared for and fed and will come home to you safe in the evenings is my priority. A big smile on his face. We love you. We love your children.
Yeah.
That energy, that helper energy,
Yes.
um, is
Yeah.
exactly what we need.
And just keep talking to each other. Have the hard conversations. This is not the time for the politeness. It's like you have to really press. This is the space that you need to know where people stand, right? You need to
Mm,
know who the people are that are willing to advocate for the rights of you and others. You need to know who your real allies and accomplices are.
mhm.
And the
And
only
maybe who's working against you. So it's
right,
not a bad
but it's
idea
like
to
the
know.
same. That's what I mean. It's like you need to know who they
Yep.
are and who they aren't, right? Both sides. And
Yeah. So when something happens, even in your forgive me, Corey, for
no.
interrupting you, even in your local community, shit starts happening, you know who to call. Don't wait and just hope that somebody's gonna, don't hope nobody's coming to save you. You've got to build this,
Yeah. We have to save each
right?
other and save ourselves. This is like community is everything. And the community is all of us, right? It's not just like the neighborhood that you live in. It's all of us. And we have way more power than we give ourselves credit for. And I'm saying that because when my when one line of my ancestors got here, it was because they were in chains. And now I have a podcast and degrees. And there were laws that were changed to allow that to happen. And those laws changed because people fought to change those laws, right? Like it didn't just happen out of the goodness of anybody's fucking heart. Wars were fought, people have died and given everything for us to have what we have. So we cannot just like fall into despair
Mm,
because some lunatic is writing all of these executive orders. Get your shit together, people. We have power to do this.
mhm. I think about how people get all emotional. Star Spangled Banner, America the Beautiful. I'm proud, proud to be an American. They get all. I'm not minimizing that. If you have a really strong emotional response to those kind of things, this is your moment. This is, you talk freedom isn't free. Guess what? Not just for soldiers. This is our moment. This is our moment. Take that same energy and fight for freedom for people right here. Right here. Okay.
All right,
Everybody
friends.
went on mute. Everybody went on
Excellent.
mute again because they've got other people in their rooms. Meanwhile, I'm all up in this space alone. I can't handle the
Sorry.
silence. I gotta go.
Hey, before we wrap, for our listeners who can't see the video, and especially for our listeners who have been here for the whole ride, who were listening from
Are we going to take a
the
picture?
very beginning, I just want to mention that Laura is wearing a Bravo Cinematic Universe sweatshirt.
Universe sweatshirt.
That's a shout out to the early days of the podcast.
It is for the very first episode.
And she
You're right.
came
Bravo
in
versus Marvel.
to the recording space like she was on the show. It was like big energy. She was like, "Ooh, gotta get my headphones on. It's time for the podcast."
I honestly, it was more than I had to fix my hair and I was scrambling and I got cord. Nothing with me is Bluetooth. Unlike you with all your Apple device, I have Apples too.
It was so funny. And you could see
I
her
am
whole
very
Bravo.
corded.
She was like, "Bravo."
Right there, baby. Shout out Bravo Historian for making this shirt. I love it. I wear it with smiles every time. All right, y'all. Love you. Thanks for fighting the good fight. Thanks for listening, everybody at home, to Pushing Past Polite, where we talk about what matters and make the world more just. And we were created for a time like this. Till next time, I'm Laura.
I'm Corey.
I'm Keith.
Talk to your people.
Push past polite. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to Pushing Past Polite. We encourage you to go deeper in your trusted spaces and find new space for good conversation.
You'll find episodes, transcripts, and lots of other goodies at our website, pushingpastpolitepodcast.com. You can also connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Pushing Past Polite.
Pushing Past Polite is an independent podcast with Corey and Laura from Just Educators.
Our cover art was designed by Rachel Welsh DeEga of DeEga Designs, and our audio is produced by Keith at Headset Media. Until next time, don't get stuck talking about the weather. Push past polite.
See you next time.
Jay, you did perfect.